Hi, welcome back to Manly Kitchen, and this is part of our Teen Takeover series. I got Giovanna with me today, and today we're going to do a very easy beef stroganoff. Now, there's a lot of recipes out there. You can get as fancy as you want. Go have some fun. But I thought that this time around I'd just show you how to do it nice and easy and quick and painless so you can get a meal on the table right away. Okay? Before we go over to the stove, I'm going to try something a little new. I'm going to show you what we're going to work with all at once. Starting over on our right, your left, we've got the onions that are a coarse chop that Giovanna did for us. We got a little over 2 pounds of stew meat here that we're going to use. We do also have a bowl with some flour. We're going to dredge it through before we brown it. We have mushrooms here, noodles over here for seasoning. We've got garlic, some stock concentrate, and some sour cream, which makes it stroganoff. Okay, so there we go. Quick and easy, down and dirty, easy peasy painless, right?
Yep.
There we go. Let's go to the stove and have some fun.
All right.
I have my oil popping. First thing I'm going to do is drop a nice healthy portion of garlic. Right behind that, we'll put all those onions that Giovanna hacked up for us. Onions are really good for you, high in vitamin C. Flip them all real quick. Whoops, flip them right out of the pan. All right, we're going to let those heat up and sweat for a few minutes. You'll notice over here, by the way, already got the water on to boil so we can get the noodles moving. Giovanna's been keeping an eye on our onions for us, flipping them every so often so they don't get burnt and charred. And they've sweated out pretty well. So now we're going to transfer them to a bowl and hold them aside. Don't worry if you didn't get every last onion. And yes, there's going to be some brown bits on the bottom of the pan. No big deal. Now, Giovanna, if you'd come around over here, sweetie, and I want you to just dump a couple, 3 or 4 cubes of meat at a time into that bowl for me. And this is because just dump them in. I'm going to show you how to do this quick and easy. Okay. Now that we've got these coated and I'm transferring, put 4 more in. There you go. Normally I wouldn't have the camera to worry about, right? Mm-hmm. I could do this all on my own, but it's just easier if you do a few pieces at a time. You can make sure that they're properly coated. And since we're going to simmer this for a bit after we brown, we don't have to worry about all of the meat getting into the pot at exactly the same time. And we're just going to let it sit for a little minute at every turn. Let some of that meat brown, then we'll flip it and get another side. We'll just keep doing that.
You can also do this with smaller pieces, can't you?
Yes, you sure can. You know, we're kind of limited this time around because I bought the stew meat because it was on sale. Mm-hmm. You know, I talk a lot about seeing what's on sale and using that. And it was already cut, and I didn't want to cut it down any further. Now, if you find a roast on sale, whether it be a chuck roast, a round roast, whatever, you can cut down pretty much any meat. And when you're cutting it yourself, you can choose your own size.
Okay.
Now, the reason that I asked you to do the onions as big as you did was because the pieces of meat were big. And, you know, likewise with the mushrooms, I'm not going to let those stay in the sauce too long or in the mixture because I don't want them to reduce down to where they're very small. I want them to still be larger and kind of match the meat a little better, you know?
All right.
You know what I mean? Another thing to think about, Joe, stew, and stroganoff really is just a stew, if you think about it, right? But stew is not soup. And in the old days, the reason that you used the tougher cuts of meat for soup and things of that nature is because the simmering is what's going to break that tough cut down and make it tender to the bite.
Nice.
Okay, so, you know, but they were using larger chunks like this, and they would simmer them for long times to break that meat down, but at the same time they didn't want it to fall apart. You know, they wanted it to still be a piece of meat when it was served in the bowl. Okay, so we've got all of the pink out. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some water in this, and we're going to reduce the heat down to medium-low. And we may even bring it down to low. We just want this to simmer now for a while.
Yeah, we still got slightly a little bit of pink.
Yes, that's okay. We're going to cover this up. We're going to let it simmer down. And, you know, I know a lot of people want to brown their meat until it's thoroughly done before they start simmering. I think that's wrong. I think that gives you a tougher piece of meat to chew on, number one. Number two, I don't think it gives you as flavorful a broth or gravy with what you're making.
Because the broth will simmer into the meat as well.
Correct, and the meat will simmer out into the broth more as well.
So they kind of go a yin-yang kind of deal.
Bingo. Okay, so you can see that just with that little bit of water,
it's already thickening up.
Yeah, we've got some gravy going though, you know. Now the sour cream is going to instantly make it thick, so we don't really have to worry too much about that. What we do have to worry about is having enough liquid in here while it simmers.
Alrighty.
But it's easier to add more than it is to take something out. So I started out with that amount, and now you can see I just put a little bit in there.
So about a mug and a half.
Not even that yet, because it wasn't a full mug before. I mean, if you're measuring all the way up to the brim.
So about maybe one full mug now?
One and a quarter, and you got to eyeball it, because, you know, every pack of meat's different. This was 2.28 pounds. Well, if you get 2 pounds or 1.9, you know, you're going to do your measuring to the main ingredient of your dish. And that's why I don't really like to talk about exact measurements. I give approximates. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I got these little things of concentrated stock. And first time,
Want a spoon for that?
Yeah, you know, that might be a good idea. Always trying new things. But that's how we learn, that's how we get better. So supposedly this stuff is just going to melt right down and give a little extra beefy flavor to the stock. Now, I may or may not do that in a regular stew. But because I'm putting a lot of sour cream in this and I want to make sure there's still that good beefy flavor throughout the entire sauce, I'm going to go ahead and use that. Well, you can tell that somebody's at the door, right, folks?
I'll go get that.
Yeah. Now it's time to put the onions back in.
That's already giving off a little bit of a nice scent.
Yeah, it's too bad we don't have smell-o-vision.
Oh.
Okay, a little more water. We're going to drop this down even lower. Make sure it's centered. We're going to put our top on and we're going to let it go. Notice I haven't put the mushrooms in yet.
I noticed.
I don't want them to reduce too much.
You're going to put them in next to last, I'm guessing? Or last?
Next to last, because the sour cream will be last.
Okay.
You'll notice that only now am I tasting that broth and deciding whether to put a little salt in it. And I'm putting 1 pinch. There's almost nothing left after that first little pinch. Very, very little salt, just a touch. Now, we'll put the mushrooms in. Mushrooms are fairly delicate, so you want to be careful as you fold them in. And I'm already seeing as I'm putting them in, I don't have enough liquid. And if you don't have enough liquid in there, you're not going to get a good coating on everything. And that looks pretty right. Back on. Next, and finally, sour cream.
You're using the whole thing, aren't you?
Yes, I sure am, because I'm making a double recipe.
All right. That's looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That was an interesting giggle.
I'm sorry, this is just cool to me. You know?
What part of it exactly? Because you just giggled like a little boy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But you know, I've been working in the kitchen since I was a child, playing around and having fun with it. And it's always just been really cool. You know, I'd find some leftovers in the refrigerator and I'd make something. And my dad would taste it and go, "Oh, that's good." And I was just like, "Yeah," you know, that was really cool. And I'm still that way. And you know, I'm almost done with my stroganoff. It's looking really good.
It is. I'm liking the looks on that meat right there too.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Killing me over here, Lane.
Mm-hmm. That's the idea. All right. We've dressed the plate with a nice portion of noodles and some fresh green beans. These are not even cooked. When I got them out and I was going to cook them, Giovanna said something about how much she liked fresh beans. So we're going to do it that way instead. And make sure that we spoon a lot of extra gravy onto those noodles. And there it is. Quick and easy, painless beef stroganoff. Now it's time for the fun part. Eating. So that's easy beef stroganoff. And that's the simplest recipe I know for this dish. There are certainly more complicated ones, but the purpose of this episode was to show you that there are very easy versions of some of the recipes you might want to make. And for those of you that are just starting out, I would encourage you to make this meal, do it a couple of times and gain your confidence, and then you can start exploring the more complex versions. This is Manly Kitchen. I'm Lane. Thanks for joining me. And remember, play with your food.